The cold, unforgiving waters of the Arctic have long been a source of fascination and fear. This frozen wasteland has claimed countless lives and hidden many secrets beneath its icy grip. One such secret was recently uncovered when a team of researchers stumbled upon a mysterious wreckage that has left experts baffled. What could this wreckage possibly be, and how did it end up in the Arctic Circle? Join us as we delve into the chilling tale of this Arctic Enigma. The discovery. It was during one of the research expeditions in the Arctic Circle that the team came across the wreckage. They had been exploring the uncharted waters of the region, when suddenly they spotted something that made them stop in their tracks. Half submerged in the ice-jammed waters was a metal structure that looked like nothing they had ever seen before. At first, they thought it might be a lost fishing boat or a forgotten research vessel. But as they got closer, they realized that this was no ordinary wreck. The structure was unlike any ship they recognized and seemed to be made of a metal that had been fused together in some unknown process. It was as if someone had taken several pieces of metal and welded them together to form one large, mysterious object. The team was stunned. They had never come across anything like this before in all their years of exploring the Arctic. As they continued their investigation, they noticed that the wreckage had what appeared to be a hatch on one side. It was slightly ajar, as if someone had tried to open it but failed. Curiosity got the better of the researchers, and they decided to investigate further. With great difficulty, they managed to pry open the hatch and climb inside. What they found was even more puzzling. The interior of the wreckage was filled with strange symbols and markings that seemed to be unlike any language they were familiar with. There were also several strange devices that looked like nothing so much as oversized mechanical brains. These devices were covered in wires and tubes, and it was clear that they had once been an integral part of the wreckage's function. But what exactly was this function? And what was the purpose of this mysterious object? The team carefully documented everything they saw, taking pictures and making detailed notes. They knew that they had stumbled upon something truly extraordinary, something that could change our understanding of history forever. As they made their way back to the surface, they could unhelp but wonder what secrets the Arctic was still hiding and what other mysteries lay undiscovered beneath its icy depths. Unveiling the mystery, the discovery of the wreckage sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Experts from various fields were brought in to try and make sense of this bizarre find. Historians searched through old records, trying to find any mention of a lost vessel that matched the wreckage-esque description. But their efforts turned up nothing. The engineers and scientists were no more successful in their investigations. They examined the metal used to construct the wreckage, but its composition was unlike anything they had ever seen before. It was incredibly strong and durable, yet it was also strangely lightweight. This suggested that it was not made on Earth, and that it may have been constructed using technology far beyond our own. As the investigation continued, more and more questions started to arise. Who built this wreckage and why? What was its purpose, and how did it get to the Arctic Circle? Was there a crew on board when it crashed, and what happened to them? Unfortunately, the passage of time was not on the team's side. As the Arctic winter approached, the researchers knew that they had only a limited window to continue their work. The freezing temperatures and thick layers of ice would soon make further exploration impossible. So they worked tirelessly to uncover as much information as possible before the harsh weather conditions set in. They decided to take a small sample of the metal from the wreckage to be analyzed in a state-of-the-art laboratory. While waiting for the results, they continued to examine the markings and symbols inside the wreckage, hoping to find some clue as to its origin. But their efforts were in vain. The symbols were unlike any known alphabet and seemed to hold some kind of deeper meaning. Just when the team was about to give up hope, one of the researchers had a breakthrough. He had been examining the structure of the wreckage and had noticed that the metal panels were arranged in a very specific pattern. When he studied the pattern closely, he realized that it was actually a map. But a map of what? The answer came to him in a flash. He looked up at the sky and realized that the map was of the constellations. The metal panels were arranged in such a way that when the sun hit them at a certain angle, they reflected the positions of the stars in the night sky. It was as if the builders of the wreckage had used the stars as a guide, navigating to this remote location in the Arctic Circle. But why would they do that? And what was the significance of this place? The answer came when another researcher discovered a small hole in one of the metal panels. The hole was perfectly round and seemed to have been made with a drill. But what was being drilled for? The researcher shone a bright light into the hole and gasped in amazement. On the other side of the panel was a calendar, or what appeared to be one. The days and months were written in a language that was still not deciphered, but it was clear that it was a calendar from a time long ago. It predated the calendar system, used today by thousands of years. This was a calendar from a time before recorded history. A time when the world was still shrouded in mystery and legend. It was as if the builders of the wreckage had been trying to hide their presence in time itself, leaving behind no trace of their existence, except for this one mysterious artifact. The team was stunned. They had stumbled upon something truly remarkable. This wreckage was not just a lost vessel or a forgotten experiment. It was a time capsule from a bygone era, a window into a world that existed before human history began. The implications were staggering. This could change our understanding of human history forever. The race against time. With each passing day, the Arctic Circle became more treacherous. The winds grew colder and the ice thicker, making it harder and harder for the team to reach the wreckage. But they knew that they had to hurry up. The frigid temperatures were not only dangerous, but they were also slowly destroying the wreckage itself. The constant freezing and thawing of the metal was causing it to rust and decay, and soon it would be too damaged to study. They worked day and night to uncover as much information as possible, determined to solve the mystery before it was too late. Using the map on the wreckage, they were able to determine its direction and estimated that it had been built around 12,000 years ago. This placed it in a time period known as the Younger Dryas, when the Earth as climate was in a state of flux and the melting of the glaciers caused sea levels to rise rapidly. It was a time of great upheaval and change, when the world as we knew it began to take shape. The team continued their investigation, examining every inch of the wreckage, looking for any clue as to its purpose. They discovered that it had a small opening near the top, which they believed was a hatch for air circulation. This suggested that the wreckage was not intended to be submerged, but rather was meant to float on the surface of the water. They also found a series of holes in the bottom of the wreckage, which appeared to be designed to let water in. This led them to believe that the wreckage was somehow connected to the water cycle, perhaps collecting rainwater or seawater. But how could a piece of metal accomplish this? As the days passed, the team grew more and more desperate. The Arctic winter was fast approaching, and they knew that they had only a few days left to complete their investigation. Just when all hope seemed to be lost, one of the researchers made a final discovery. He noticed a small indentation in the metal, almost invisible to the naked eye. It was a tiny spiral pattern that looked like nothing so much as a blueprint. The researcher carefully brushed away the ice and snow, revealing a series of numbers and symbols. He quickly realized that it was a complex equation, one that contained the key to unlocking the mystery of the wreckage. The equation was a formula for calculating the Earth's rotation, a fundamental principle of astronomy that had been known since ancient times. But this was no ordinary formula. It contained a series of constants that were not known until modern times. This meant that the wreckage was not just a relic of the past, but a piece of advanced technology from a time when the Earth's rotation was still a mystery. With the equation in hand, the team was able to decipher the rest of the wreckage. They realized that it was not just a time capsule, but a warning from the past. The builders of the wreckage had witnessed a catastrophic event, perhaps the impact of a comet or an asteroid, and they had built this device to warn future generations of the impending disaster. Their message was clear. The Earth's rotation was unstable, and a major event was on the horizon. Epilogue. as the Arctic winter began to set in. The team packed up their equipment and prepared to leave. They had solved the mystery of the wreckage and uncovered a warning from the past. But they knew that their work was not over. They had to share their findings with the world and warn humanity of the danger that lay ahead. But as they made their way home, they couldn't shake off the feeling that they had been watched. The Arctic had given up its secrets, but it had done so reluctantly. And the team knew that they had disturbed something ancient and powerful. As the ice tightened its grip on the Arctic Circle, they wondered if the world was truly ready for the message from the past. Or would it listen and heed the warning, or would it be too late?